A group of men march towards the spotlight, while the announcers hype up their arrival. Among them is India's Milkha Singh, a runner known as the Indian Saint in Europe and the world over. The 1960 Rome Olympics is finally about to kick off, revealing that Milkha Singh still holds the previous world record for India. The announcers question if he can win the 400 meters race gold for his country this time. On your mark, set, a loud boom from the gunshot follows, and so the historic race begins. In no time at all, Milkha overtakes his competitors and gets in the lead. Soon, the 200 meters mark is passed and the announcers remark that the gold is practically in his pocket. Just then, a man in a green coat shouts out, "Run, Milkha, run." As the runner hears this, the world around him turns into a horror show. Milkha remembers an old man shouting the same phrase at him, while his own child self runs across a field and away from a horse-riding maniac. The kid looks behind, witnessing blood getting splattered by the man swinging a blade. However, this turn back is also something the adult Milkha does during the race with victory right in his grasp. In the blink of an eye, the competitors he had left in the dust overtake him, leaving the onlookers baffled at why the runner did such a thing. Soon, news started rolling out of one Milkha Singh, the great Indian tragedy. The entire world came to know about the man's loss at the Rome Olympics, marking the event as a black day for Indian sports. Despite getting cheered on not too long ago, Milkha became someone hated by the public. People protested against him, burning up cutouts of the man wherever they went. Time passes, and Milkha sits around in a small apartment when he receives a phone call. He picks the phone up but puts it down upon hearing a man named Ranveer repeatedly say hello, Milkha. Upon getting his call shut down, Ranveer is told by an old guy in a white suit that he understands the runner's mental state after his loss at the Rome Olympics. However, their Prime Minister and Pakistan's President General Ayub Khan are quite excited for this upcoming event, sending a wrong signal to them if the star Milkha refuses to attend. Just then, the Prime Minister of India arrives and asks what signal he means in relation to the Pakistan-India games. The suited old guy reveals that all the preparations have been made, minus Milkha's agreement to participate after his loss at the Rome Olympics. Though, the Prime Minister just insists to convince him since winning and losing is part of a sport. Hearing this, Ranveer Singh pardons his intrusion and introduces himself to the esteemed personality as Milkha's coach. He tells the man that it isn't about losing in Rome, but a major personal reason that is stopping the runner from going to Pakistan. Upon hearing this, the Prime Minister tells the suited dude named Wadhwa to take Ranveer and go meet Milkha. Sometime later, the coach introduces a man named Gurudev Singh to Wadhwa while sitting in a train, someone who Milkha listens to the most out of anyone in the world. And so, the long journey from Delhi to Chandigarh commences, with the suited guy questioning Gurudev what the runner's major reason is for publicly announcing his refusal to go to Pakistan. Revealing that he met Milkha 6 years ago in 1954 at the Secunderabad Army Regime Center, the Singh begins telling the long story. Back in the day, men from every corner of the country used to enlist in the army. Milkha was one of them. After spending days of terrible training under a harsh trainer, things seemed to settle down. Sometime after, Commander Gurudev Singh comes to inform the recruits of a 6 miles cross-country race. Whoever places 1 to 10th in the mock race for its prep there will receive personal training from the man, as well as a chance to represent the unit in the upcoming brigade games. Upon not receiving a serious reaction from the rookies, the trainer offers the top 10 in the race to pardon their fatigue, along with a special diet of milk and 2 raw eggs. Hearing about these benefits, the recruits finally get hyped to win and soon, the race begins. Milkha, along with his friends Taran and Suresh, sits down to give up due to stomach cramps. However, he pushes on by thinking about the milk and manages to place top 10 by overtaking everyone. Even Gurudev Singh is impressed by his running and promises to fix his stamina via the personal training. As a child, Milkha used to enjoy drinking milk a lot, surrounded by his loving family, especially his parents. He wanted to become a soldier and always ran across dunes barefooted after school to hurry to his home. Now, with Gurudev Singh, Milkha was doing both these things. After some time of training together, the teacher takes his disciple to the cross-country race. There, he asks a man wearing an Indian team blazer where he can get that, given that the coat seems to be getting him so much respect. Though, the innocent question ends up getting the recruit insulted and told that it's only for champions. As the men tell him to scram, Milkha is forced to follow, longing to have that honor someday. Later, after finishing practice, the man finds the blazer hanging around and tries it on to see how it would look on himself. Just then, the earlier group of men arrives there, accusing the runner of being a thief despite his repeated attempts at refuting the allegations. The soldiers beat him down and strip Milkha almost naked. Gurudev Singh walks in there right at that moment and breaks apart the altercation. though he ends up slapping his disciple and tells him that he has to earn it first, informing him on the importance of being worthy enough for the coat. Gurudev remarks that Milka must be able to outrun the man wearing it, Sher Singh Rana. With a blind confidence, the runner proclaims that he can beat the champion. The men laugh and walk away, with Sher Singh announcing that the boy can challenge him whenever he wants. After they leave, Gurudev proudly puts his hands on Milka's shoulders. The teacher expresses how one day, the runner will beat 100 Sher Singh Ranas. And so, the time comes when Milka challenges the blazer wearer. The race begins, and Sher Singh soon takes off, leaving everyone in the dust. However, Milka begins catching up and is seemingly about to win. However, right near the end line, the runner steps on something and screams out in agony, and ends up getting last place. Lying on the ground with blood running down his heel, Milka gets aided by Gurudev in removing the stone. Just as the two are regretting what has happened, an officer arrives there, revealing that they have chosen the outstanding runner who fell due to unfortunate circumstances to participate in the brigade games as well. Upon receiving the good news, the teacher-disciple duo vow to get the boy so good at running that no stone would be able to stop him. Wadwa, who has been hearing all this, questions what that has anything to do with Milka not going to Pakistan. Gurudev then reveals that in 1947, when millions were celebrating India's freedom, others were mourning the bloodshed. This included Milka, whose new village fell on the other side of the border in Pakistan. During the partition, he lost track of his entire family and had to survive on his own as a lonesome, young boy. One day, after getting the distributed food, Milka heard his name getting called by an army stall and rushed to the spot. There, the boy reunited with his older sister Ishri. However, not only did most of Milka's family die during this time, but the sister had also gotten in an abusive marriage. Seeing her in such a condition, Milka promised to never leave her side. As time passed, the boy often got in trouble with the other kids. One day, Milka came back home furious at what the man did to his sister and starts breaking things apart. Not taking to this kindly, Ishri's husband started abusing him as well. Relying on his ability to run far away, the boy avoided all the chasers and finally joined a gang of troublemakers himself. From that point on, his journey from being a young boy to adulthood was no longer lonely, surrounded by his friends, and a lot of running. All grown up, Milka is running around one night during his time at the army and impresses an officer with his hard-working nature. Following this, the otherwise strict trainer shows an ounce of humanity, and allows the runner to be excused from fatigue to just focus on running. And so, Milka begins spending his training hours with Gurudev, filling up a mug of sweat every day to mark his hard work. A certain eventful day back in his village times, Milka runs into a gorgeous lady, Biro, on his bike and falls in love. After continuous efforts, the lady finally reciprocates his love for her. Soon, the couple sits around together at Gandhi's holiday. Upon hearing why it's a national holiday, Milka proclaims that India will one day have a national holiday in his name as well, making Biro burst into a laughter. Afterwards, Milka goes to Biro to want to marry her, getting rejected as she doesn't want her children to be a thief like him as she heard it from a lady earlier. However, the man promises the lady that he will only come meet her when he becomes a worthy man, if she waits. Despite the proclamation though, trying to live a good life only ended Milka up in a prison. To bail him out, Ishri, who has gotten out of her abusive marriage, sold her jewelry. This was the last straw for the man, and fate ended up taking him to the army in the end. Back in running camp, Gurudev is trying to teach Milka proper form and how to run with shoes. There, he introduces him to the Indian team coach, Ranveer Singh. Through his mentorship, the runner grows by leaps and bounds. However, this attracts jealousy and fear from Sher Singh Rana and his underlings. The night before the next race where Sher Singh was participating, they beat poor Milka to a pulp and leave his legs and feet bloodied. Even in this immense agony, the runner didn't give up. Refusing to even give the names of who did such a thing to him, Milka arrives at the race with injured limbs. Despite warnings from both his mentors not to run like this if he doesn't want his legs to be damaged, the runner ferociously goes ahead. Joining the race injured and barefooted, Milka prays and hopes to get through this. However, as the race begins, every step he takes causes him immense pain and agony, getting left far behind. Right as the coaches think that it's all over, Milka runs and runs. Entering a flow state of sorts, he rips apart the bandages with the absolute intensity of his steps. Through sheer determination, the runner not only wins but also ends up shattering the national record for the race. Writhing on the ground in agony, he gets told the news and remarks, Milka has become India. Finally getting his esteemed blazer through the efforts of Gurudev, Ranveer, and himself, Milka goes to visit his sister Ishri and surprises her. Then, getting excited to fulfill his promise to Biro, Milka goes to her house but meets a burly man there instead. Upon asking around what became of her, Milka finds out that Biro was married off despite her protests. Feeling terrible, he heads back to Gurudev at the army where he is told that Ranveer will be his new coach now. Sad that everyone is leaving him, Milka gets told that a bird that flies as high as him can't get attached to small trees, revealing that the runner will be heading to Australia. Gurudev bids him farewell. On the flight, Milka and his friend Mahinder get flustered by the beautiful swimming champion, Parizad, soon landing at the country for the 1956 Melbourne Olympics. There, Ranveer introduces the Indians to Mr. Peter Hamilton, an esteemed champion in his time. He will be their technical advisor. Peter takes them to his house and introduces Milka and the others to his granddaughter Stella. Getting charmed with the man's inability to understand any English, she invites the boys out for a good time. The coaches allow it, asking the runners to come back in the morning for practice. Though, Milka and the others end up having too much fun and get drunk. The runner comes crashing into Stella's room, and the two make out into the night. Come next morning, Milka realizes what he has done, rushing to train. There, Ranveer gives him a harsh talking to for being late. However, despite vowing not to repeat his mistake, the runner folds like a sheet when Stella comes to ask for him wearing his Indian blazer. And so, the race day soon arrives. The tomfoolery catches up to Milka, who loses in an embarrassing fashion, disappointing everyone and even himself. With the realization of what has happened, the runner leaves Stella heartbroken when she shows up to console him and heads to a nearby washroom. There, he slaps the ever-living crap out of himself for failing everyone. Getting his act together, Milka goes to Stella to apologize and remarks that she isn't the problem. He is. The two then break off like adults, with the runner more motivated than ever before. During the flight back, he asks Ranveer what the 400 meters world record is and begins training to break it. Fiery dunes, blistering glaciers, nothing was harsher on Milka than Ranveer during this time. The cup of sweat he used to fill now turned into giant buckets. Through his hard work, Milka makes even the proud Parizad melt for him. However, he gracefully rejects her as he needs to overcome this fight against himself. Training like this, Milka arrives at the 1958 Asian Games at Tokyo where the fastest runner in Asia is showcasing his prowess. This was Abdul Khalik, Pakistan's pride. After seeing him run, Ranveer and Milka went to greet the runner and his coach, Javed. While the former had a bit of sports banter, the latter attacked Milka for running away from Pakistan as a kid and warned him to be careful. Remembering his family's sacrifices to protect their values, Milka ran the 200-meter race like his life depended on it. In the end, he jumped and crashes into the ground, managing to grasp victory with just a split second's difference. Breaking the Asian record for the race, he obtained the gold medal for India. Milka did the same at the 1958 Commonwealth Games and countless more, making a name for himself in India. When he returned to his unit as an officer, even the harsh instructor saluted him for his greatness. Even at this moment, Milka handed all his gold medals to Gurudev for his mentoring, receiving countless prayers in return. However, even all the celebrations don't extinguish the fire in Milka's heart as he yearns to overcome the world record at the 400 meters race. Finally, at the 1960 Fontainebleau in France, Milka finally did it. Breaking the previous world record of 45.9 seconds, he got to 45.8. Before the Rome Olympics, the runner got asked what he would want if he would win the gold medal there. Milka had only one request: declare the day a national holiday. There, President Ayub Khan called to accept the Indo-Pak Friendship Games. As such, the Prime Minister wanted Milka to head as the contingent's leader to Pakistan. While everyone clapped, the runner had a storm brewing in his mind. Coming up onto his family getting brutally slaughtered in 1947, Milka stood frozen at the horrific sight. Barely able to move, his father snapped him out of it and told the boy to be brave and run. Right then, a horse-riding maniac came there and swung his blade at Milka's dad. He screamed out his last words, "Run, Milka, run," before getting ruthlessly murdered. Getting caught up with everything, Wadhwa meets Milka with Gurudev and Ranveer, not knowing what to say anymore. As the runner pushes him, the old man invites Milka to meet with Nehru. When Milka does meet the Prime Minister, he refuses to go to a place where his family's blood runs in the air. Through a miracle, Nehru convinces the runner to perform his duty as a soldier and wage war with himself for the country's benefit. And so, the date is set for Khalik versus Milka at Lahore's National Stadium, and the latter heads to the neighboring country. However, at the press conference for the race, Milka isn't present, causing a huge ruckus and getting shamed for it. Meanwhile, Milka heads to the places from his memories, where he studied, where he ran, and where he watched his family die. The boy truly waged war on himself. Milka remembers how he came back to his home after the murderers went away. Slipping on a puddle of blood, he fell on a stack of rotting corpses, finding his dead mother there. Just thinking about this makes a grown Milka fall to the ground crying, getting comforted by a Pakistani kid. The small one recognizes the man's face and brings a picture to show him. Just then, his long-lost friend who he thought was dead, Sampreet, shows up and the two hug each other while crying. Sitting down Milka after, Sampreet tells him that people aren't bad, circumstances are. He reveals that their strict Muslim teacher raised him as his own, giving him a life. Now married, Sampreet has a wife and a son, the small one from earlier. Getting asked if he is the same guy that runs in the portrait by the little kid, Milka vows to live up to it now. The day of reckoning finally arrives, with the entirety of Pakistan flooding Lahore's stadium to watch the race. People all over the two countries tune in via radio to hear what's going on, as the coaches hype up their disciples. India's hope or Pakistan's star athlete, who would win is what everyone wanted to know now. Looking at the track as if calculating the distance, Milka readies himself. Ready, set, the gun is fired and the race begins. Pakistan's Abdul Khalik seems to be effortlessly reaching his goal without any resistance. Suddenly, Milka begins running like the wind. Second by second, he starts to catch up and leave everyone in the dust, overtaking even Abdul Khalik with ease. All eyes look at Milka Singh, who has seemingly grown wings to demolish the competition. This time, the difference between him and his opponent isn't a split-second jump, but complete domination. With a marvelous performance, Milka finally gets a public holiday announced in his name, just like he promised Biro. While everyone celebrates, the runner sees his own child self on the track with himself as he does what he always did best, run. For his extraordinary showing, the Pakistan that he left now felt pride and honor in bestowing Milka Singh with the title of the Flying Sikh. The end.